Hello and welcome to Tax Matters. I'm Chamaka Ohauchi. On the 16th of August 2021, the Petroleum Industry Bill was signed into an act by President Muhammadu Buhari, effectively making it the Petroleum Industry Act after almost 2 decades in the works. For those familiar with the workings of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, as indeed revenue authorities around the globe, not everything can be captured in a piece of legislation, and so in the tax industry, information circulars, rules and regulations are released from time to time to interpret the fiscal regimes of the relevant law or laws. In keeping with one of the 4 cardinal principles of the Muhammad Nami administration, which is robust collaboration with stakeholders, the service on Wednesday, 20 July 2022, held a stakeholders engagement on the draft information circulars on the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, where the contents of the proposed circulars were shared with critical stakeholders.
Permit me to welcome you to another FIRS stakeholder engagement, this time to obtain your inputs into the document that will serve as a compass in the implementation of the fiscal provisions of the PIA. At FIRS, we do not make policies, but we encourage policies and laws that grow businesses without compromising government revenue. And it is my hope that the fiscal provision of the PIA have been targeted at achieving that balance. As you may know, the PIA has created multiple fiscal regimes for different segments of the oil and gas industry. For some companies, fiscal obligations have been created both under the PIA and under the Companies Income Tax Act. For this class of entities, there will be need to pay hydrocarbon tax at prescribed rate and income tax at the applicable rate. The income tax rate that may be payable by companies may also depend on which segment of the industry or the stream the company operates. It is for this reason and other complexities in the Act that the lawmakers, in their own wisdom, in Section 304, subsection 1, require that FIRS make rules and prepare forms for the implementation of the fiscal regime under the Act. The service has therefore developed 4 circulars, which has been sent to most of you and is equally presented hereof to enable you, as our key stakeholders, make necessary inputs with a view to reaching a preliminary convergence on approaches for the fiscal implementation of the PIA.
Prior to that day's event, inputs into the 4 draft circulars had been received from various stakeholders, including the Oil Producers Trade section of the LCCI. There were goodwill messages from stakeholders represented at the event. From the OPTS of the LCCI came words of commendation.
We'd like to congratulate first the government of Nigeria for enacting the Petroleum Industry Act. It's a milestone for Nigeria, a very significant milestone for that matter. And we're glad that effective August 16, 2021, the act was signed into law. And the process has begun, one of which is the release of the draft FIRS circulars. So to that, we would also want to congratulate FIRS, the executive chairman, for this milestone. It's a work in progress, but I believe that the process for putting the draft together is commendable. So for us, that demonstrates transparency, it demonstrates openness and their willingness to partner with stakeholders.
Declaring the exercise open, the Honorable Federal Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, who was represented by Yinka Babalola, Special Advisor to the Minister on Fiscal Policy, seized the occasion to charge stakeholders to endeavor to fulfill their fiscal responsibilities under the PIA.
This engagement is a show of transparency in the government's new regulatory approach to the industry and a testimony of government's willingness to work with all willing partners to make the industry work for all. Accordingly, I call on you to embrace this opportunity and work with the government by complying with your tax obligations under the PIA and other relevant tax laws. Please take note that the government has strongly resolved to enforce the fiscal provisions of the PIA to the letter, and it is our hope that neither you nor your client would be found on the wrong side of the law.
Formalities over. The consideration of the information circulars began in earnest.
Made some amendments. As a result of the input received, we will display them. Then others that we are still working on, because we have covered, in my view, almost 90% of all, because most of the input are the same, some areas. So we are going to look at that. The ones that we have, that sorted technical matters or drafting, we will display to see how it now looks like, whether it meets your view. But also, we need to have at the back of our mind that it's not everything that you have proposed that we are bound to accept if we see it in another way. And where we still need you to come and give us further clarification, we invite you.
It is hoped that after this painstaking exercise, the information circulars, when eventually released, will push forward the frontiers of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. This much was expressed by Mr. Bojumbola, Group Lead Special Tax Operations Group at the FIRS, in this interview.
So we have the Petroleum Industry Act. Why do we need the information circular on the PIA at this time?
Two reasons. One, the law itself, I think in Section 304, requires that the FIRS provide guidance and regulations to help in the implementation of the law because of its complexity and because there are many new issues that are coming here and which the relevant stakeholders must understand properly, and those details cannot be contained in the law, and so we need to do that under the law. That's number one. Number two is also the issue of ease of implementation, which also has to do with the ability, the ease at which taxpayers can comply. There are quite a number of new things, like I have said. For example, the PIA has introduced two levels of taxation, which was not there before. And so we must be able then to break this down in a very simple language that our stakeholders can work with. And then that will reduce incidents of disagreements. It will reduce issues of disputes, and it also reduce cost of compliance on the part of the taxpayers and cost of administration on the part of the FIRS.
So there is no overwriting of the PIA in this regard?
There is no way any circular guidelines or even regulation can override the law because the position in interpretation of laws is that what you have in the main law remains sacrosanct unless the National Assembly and the President agree and it goes through the legislative process and it is changed. The only thing we can do is to explain the law. We cannot remake the law, we can't amend it, we can't add to it, we cannot remove from it. So the circulars that we are doing are not doing any of those things. It's just further breaking down the law with a view to ensuring that all our stakeholders properly understand the law as it should be implemented.
I'm a very busy man. My business involves a lot of traveling and I interface with lots and lots of people and organizations. Tax compliance used to be a big drag on my business. It was time-consuming and very costly. But now, no more. Introducing the FIRS Tax Pro Max, the truly fully end-to-end tax administration solution for companies' income tax, value-added tax, petroleum profits tax, and all other tax types. For fast, efficient, and convenient end-to-end tax experience, log on to www.taxpromax.firs.gov.ng. Tax Pro Max has turned things around for me. It is fast, user-friendly, and cost-effective. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC.
From the big tax to a small one. Well, that is when you still consider petroleum as the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. Of course, we all know that the tertiary taxes from SMEs can amount to quite a tidy sum if well harnessed. Connecting all is ICT. The use of modern ICT tools to bring everyone into the tax net and to collect as much as possible while being able to account for taxes collected. That was the focus of the Southwest Zonal Conference of the CITN held in Lagos between the 20th and 22nd of July 2022 with the theme, Presumptive Tax Regime and ICT in Optimizing Revenue Generation. The conference took off in earnest with the first paper presentation on sectoral analysis of the Nigerian informal sector, the role of technology in optimal revenue collection, presented by Mr. Linus Uzuede of the FIRS.
According to IMF, informal sector accounts for about 65% of economic activities in Nigeria, while World Bank report of May 12, 2021 noted that informal sector in Nigeria employs about 80% of the workforce. They are legitimate, they are legal, they operate outside the formally regulated monetary economy. They are large in number, diverse, they are often mobile, move from place to place. One of their problems is that they have poor record keeping. They are just family-oriented businesses. Predominantly, they like cash-based transactions. They don't want their monies to be traced to the bank so that when tax offices get on them, they will not see the traces of the money.
On bringing the informal sector into the tax nets,
leveraging on technology will go a long way to bring in these informal sector operators into the tax net. Globally, application of information technology has taken a center stage in various endeavors over the last few decades. Tax administration has not been left out, as tax authorities in different climes, including developing countries, continue to harness technology for efficient and effective tax administration. Also, the effect of COVID-19 pandemic has also necessitated the need for tax authorities to embrace technology, as it is obvious that only normal administrative procedure cannot generate the required revenue to meet government needs for infrastructure and social development.
Mr. Uzuede's paper was discussed by Dr. Titilayo Fowokon and Dr. Emeke Nwabozo, both council members of the CITN.
The cost of compliance in relation to filing CAC documents and tax returns contributes to the informal sector's players deciding to stay within their comfort zone, at least try to minimize their headaches, and continue to pay as minimal tax as possible. Thus, the state revenue will have to step up their game to be able to get them to be in the net.
What can we do in Nigeria? We will talk about the fact that we need to look at issue of response technology. Very timely data collection, gathering. Government needs to partner with relevant trade unions, groups to comply with required information using technology. Then the integration of GIP platform, that is Government Enterprise Empowerment Programs, the GIPs, the consolidated levy or taxes. We are talking about the fact that there are multiplicity of taxes. Then talking about the need for them to consolidate, such that once somebody wants to make a payment in the informal sector, they know that we are doing just a single payment, then this can be distributed within the various platforms or within the agencies that are supposed to receive this.
Chairman of session was Mr. Olajide Akinyele, who stood in for the Executive Chairman of Oyo State Internal Revenue Service.
The informal sector is the biggest topic in taxation today. All data sources says 2/3 of the economy is in the informal sector. So it defeats equity that we keep on overflogging the already tired losses of the formal sector while a sizable percentage of the economy is outside the tax net. And we will all agree that if you are actually very sincere about it, Technology has brought a lot of improvements into every facet of life, and tax administration cannot be exempted from it. If we are going to bring efficiency, best service delivery into taxation, and optimum revenue generation, technology has to be the way forward. We must find a way of getting data, all the data sources, and being able to analyze them, and that will ease bringing these people more into the tax net.
Participants were given opportunity to ask questions and make contributions. Immediately following the first paper presentation session, the conference was formally kicked off with the opening ceremony. Dr. Yemi Soni is the conference director of the CITN Southwest Zonal Conference.
This conference, as obtainable with similar events, provides a platform for the Institute to examine and contribute to fiscal initiatives, tax administration reforms, sustained tax sensitization, and enlightenment as avenues to foster a better tax system and economy of our dear country.
This conference has been packaged to address some salient issues on the application of technology to optimize revenue generation.
The keynote address was delivered by the Vice President of the Institute, Mr. Samuel Abeluyu, who stood in for the President. The honor of declaring the conference open was given to Mr. Ayodele Sober, Executive Chairman, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, who was ably represented by Dr. Fadashade Koka, a director at the LRS.
In Nigeria, the informal sector has what I call shades of gray. In other climes, it's easy to define and to delineate those that fall under the informal sector as against those that fall under the informal. But we have a lot of people that are actually structured, working in the informal sector because it acts like a form of covering and an illusion for them not to declare their taxes as should be. And there comes the second part of this conversation, ICT. What does ICT do? According to Daniel Moran, he says you can have data without information, but you cannot have information without data. So, information without data, that is the time loop. Information is basically based on ICT, and that is through profiling. You get to profile, you are able to link the linkages, you are able to link a lot of information and make a comprehensive and clear and accurate data of a person. It's important in this conversation to look at enlightenment, enumeration, and stakeholders' engagement, especially when you look at the informal sector, because that language is totally different. And when you look at ICT, the ICT that you would need to deploy when it comes to the formal will totally be different from that which you will deploy when it has to do with the informal.
Following the formal opening ceremony, the intellectual feast resumed with 2 more paper presentation sessions. Details of the paper presentations will be shared with you in a subsequent episode of Tax Matters. As you can see, the boundaries, the vistas of taxation are ever expanding, and you only get a ringside view of these unfolding events and activities on Tax Matters. Moving on to our last story for the day. Whether in the area of collection of the so-called big taxes or the small ones, all the good work that is being done at the Federal Internal Revenue Service is the result of teamwork. Every member of staff has keyed into the vision and drive of the Executive Chairman, Mr. Muhammad Nami. In the year 2021, the FIRS grossed a whopping sum of 6.4 trillion naira in taxes. This was made possible by all hands being on deck. On Thursday, the 28th of July, the FIRS organized the annual reward recognition and award ceremony for the 2021 tax year. We do recall that at the 2022 corporate retreat held in Lagos from the 31st of March to the 1st of April 2022, the first set of awardees were recognized. This time around, as you will find presently, an additional number of more than 100 were recognized for their sterling performance. The 2021 recognition and award ceremony had 9 categories of awardees.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this special event. Our excitement today can never be exaggerated, having achieved a remarkable feat in 2021, the highest collection ever achieved in the history of the Revenue Administration in Nigeria. The board and management of the service, under the able leadership of our executive chairman, deemed it important to celebrate those whose excellent performances, commitment, and dedication stood out last year. This event, therefore, is focused at celebrating those staff with sterling performances and commitment to excellence in their 2021.
The executive chairman FIRS was represented by the coordinating director in the executive chairman's group.
On April 14, 2021, the service recognized deserving staff for their dedicated contribution to the attainment of our 2020 targets. Despite the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, some officers and functions were able to put up exceptional and commendable performances worthy of recognition. Consequently, during the corporate retreat held at Echo Hotels in Lagos, the 2021 annual recognition event was kick-started by recognizing awardees in 7 categories. We are therefore gathered here to conclude what was started in Lagos. In all, 101 staff and tax offices will today be recognized and rewarded across all functions of the service for the period under review.
After the chairman's speech, the award ceremony immediately kicked off.
Now, for the first category of awards we have here is the Extraordinary December Final Push. The Extraordinary December Final Push Award is for the tax offices that returned at least 500% of their December collection target, while also consistently scoring 80% rating in their office KPIs. To this end, we recognize WUSE 1 MSTO with a monthly target of 381 billion 238 million 441,000.
Against the monthly target, the WUSE 1 tax office collected in the month of December 2021 alone a whopping sum of 1.9 trillion naira,
which is 501% of their performance target, WUSE 1 MSTO. Number 2 is also the Jalingo MSTO with a monthly target of 16.25 billion and also collected 99.57 billion, which is 621% of their performance target. A round of applause for Jalingo. WUSE 1 MSTO. Jalingo MSTO. The second category, Tax Offices of the Year. In recognition of their commitment and tireless contributions to the 2021 collection target of the service, the Tax Offices of the Year award is presented to the best in their category of tax offices that demonstrated exemplary leadership in attaining at least 90% of their collection targets, collection of at least 80% of additional tax for tax audit and investigation.
The reward for hard work, they say, is harder work. But then, it is not out of place to reward hard work. That is what has happened to these hardworking men and women. We congratulate them and enjoin others to emulate them. The full story of the 2021 recognition and award ceremony will come to you shortly. Still talking about hard work, we wrap up this episode by paying tribute to an outstandingly hardworking member of staff of the FIRS, Alhaji Muhammad Adamu Kudu, who was murdered in cold blood by bandits along Bida Lapai Abuja Road on the night of Sunday, 7th of August 2022. We wish the soul of our friend, our brother, a friend of this program, our Jana Fidel. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.